start with that and move on to these questions. Some questions I have here that have been sent to me by a journalist in Greece, Stinelada, and I'm going to attempt to answer these questions as best I can. What were the factors contributed to my decision in choosing Greece as a country where the contemporary version of The Wall will be filmed? Well, factor number one is there's a fantastic auditorium there. The arena there is perfect. We've learned a lot over the past few months of touring this show about where it looks good, what sort of venue it looks good in, what size venue it really works in, and the arena in Athens, we've sent people to check it out, and it looks perfect. That's factor number one. Factor number two is we want a really enthusiastic audience. And my memories of the audience in Greece from the Dark Side of the Moon tour were that there were a lot of them in a beautiful grove of olives, and they were extremely enthusiastic and understand the work very well. And so they will be hopefully perfect subjects for the making of the film of the show, which will eventually become a Blu-ray, and so that people who didn't manage to get to see the show will get to experience it, at least in that way. Plus, I like going to Greece anyway, because I have something of a history. In fact, the second question here is there anything that binds you with Greece? There is. I have, as I said, I have a history. Πήγα εκεί η πρώτη φορά, 1960 μήπως 61. Πήγα ακόμη πολλές φορές, γιατί μου αρέσει πολύ οι άνθρωποι εκεί, η philosophy, όλα αυτά. And that's about as far as my Greek goes now. I used to speak a lot more, but as the years go by, πολλές λέξεις έφυγαν, I believe. I've spent a lot of time in Greece. When I was there in 1960, as you all know, that was only, 12 years after the end of the Civil War. And so the country was in something of a state of flux, but the welcome that I and my English friend I was travelling with got there from the Greek people was quite extraordinary. I found the people to be extraordinarily hospitable and generous, and I've sort of been slightly in love with Greece ever since. So I do feel a strong connection. There's something else, is that the fact about doing Athens at the end of the tour is that there's something that I need to ask the people who come to this show. Because we are filming, we are going to make a very, very strict policy to prevent flash photography. And our experience has been that people who bring cell phones, which they use to take flash photographs during the show, find it almost impossible to resist the temptation to use them. And in consequence, they completely ruin, quite often, quite large chunks of the show, because flash destroys the projected images that we have on the wall that are an important part of the show. So I'm making a personal appeal now, even as we're announcing that this show is coming to Athens in July, to say to people, please do not bring cell phones or cameras to the show, because we know from experience that you will be tempted to use them. And we won't allow it, because we will have set things up very carefully, done a lot of very careful lighting, and so please don't bring them. we'll be making other announcements, but it will also be printed on your ticket that you will not be allowed to bring an iPhone or camera into the show, and that if you use the camera in the show and anybody sees the flash, it will be removed, because we're really serious about making a beautiful, beautiful film in Athens. So we cannot have. We're going to become the Metropolitan Opera for the night, or what's that beautiful amphitheatre on the side of the Parthenon? They don't allow flash cameras in there, or cameras of any sort, and so we're going to elevate ourselves slightly just for those few days, so that we can make a very cool movie. So I thank you in advance for not bringing your iPhones. Why would you want to speak on the phone anyway when you're at a rock show? I never quite get that. It always seems odd to me. You know, it's a kind of modern disease. You see people at rock and roll shows, and they're seeing a show, but they're holding up an iPhone and looking at it on a tiny screen at the same time. It's very odd. I've asked people to explain to me why it is, and I think they do it because they can, and they feel that they're taking a personal memento away. Well, all you people coming to the show in Athens, we're going to make a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful memento. So you won't need a personal, tiny, little, crappy one on your iPhone. What else do I have to say? I have another question here. He says, we presume you are aware of the financial state in which Greece has fallen into. Do you believe that the frightened and disillusioned hero of the wall could identify with today's average Greek, but also global citizen who on a daily basis experiences the fear of an imminent economic penury which is forced on him by the mother New World Order? Wow, this is not really a question, it's a political statement. And, you know, obviously, I respect your right to make whatever political statement you want. I find it hard now to put myself into the position of the frightened and disillusioned hero behind the wall, because I wrote that 33 or 34 years ago now, and I'm no longer as frightened and disillusioned as that. However, I am very concerned about the climate within which the collapse of many of the economies around the world has been allowed to happen. It shows, I think, that we, the people of the world, need to attach ourselves more vigilantly than we have to the Greek idea, which is the idea of government by the people, for the people. The ideal of, which is a Greek ideal initially, of genuine democracy, is one to which we should all aspire. And if it was actually put into practice, might mean that these economic crashes that we've seen over the last year and a half or 2 years all over the world will be less likely to happen, because our economic situation would be in our own hands. You talk here, whoever you are who are asking me these questions, of the mother New World Order. This feels like you're attacking the kind of American New Millennium ideology that takes Reaganism to new places. And it certainly seems, if I'm agreeing with you, I would be agreeing with you that our lives are by and largely controlled by a very, very small number of enormously wealthy people. Certainly, I live in the United States now, and certainly that's true for the United States. So we live in the United States under a kind of false democracy, whereby we're actually... we live in a world that's governed largely by propaganda and news media, and we become, or have become, sort of docile sheep who accept the economic situation we find ourselves in. Which, not for me. I'm happy to say that, you know, I've got a good job and I make a few quid, but most people, by comparison with the people who actually run the country, are not all that well off, just well enough off that they can be kept under control. Anyway, I don't want to get drawn into a long political discussion because there's nobody to talk to except this camera. Having said that, I don't mean to make light of the situation in Greece. I don't know enough about it, really, to give you a very serious answer. But the idea of a world that runs entirely on debt is a model that we cannot sustain. And I suspect that there may be a bigger fall around the corner. Strangely enough, the United States is almost as debt-ridden as Greece. They just pretend it isn't. Print more money. So I feel for people whose standard of living is falling. And I hope that Europe pulls together and that the stronger nations like France and Germany help the nations who are in need of help at the moment. The European Union is a very brave and important experiment, in my view. And in fact, the European Union is now the largest economy in the world. And so it should be supported by all of us. You know, if we didn't waste so much of our GDP on, I'm not saying Greece does this necessarily, but if the rest of the Western nations, particularly Great Britain, France, the United States, Belgium, didn't spend so much of our money making and delivering weapons all over the world to express our international interests in violent and unnecessary ways. This is the truest of the United States, but there would be a lot of resource left over to support our citizens in ways that they should be supported with, you know, healthcare and education and so on and so forth. So the show that we're presenting in Athens in July is preeminently anti-war. I hope that the story of the frightened and disillusioned hero that you described in the question has been expanded from the microcosm of that one man's story into a larger picture that encompasses my very, very strongly held anti-war feelings and how I feel we should all be working together to stop the warmongers from taking innocent lives and spending the huge, huge, huge amounts of money to do it. I think that's the end of my political diatribe for today. Sorry, I don't mean to be, you know, make fun of any of this because none of it's funny. But I'm really happy that we're coming to Greece. Θα σου βρω. What's then? I can't remember. Anyway, γεια σας.